Hey football fans, welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. A franchise steeped in tradition, grit, and, well, perhaps a growing sense of unease. The news out of recent OTAs has started to raise some serious questions, particularly surrounding the future of one of their most indispensable players, T.J. Watt. Several high-profile Pittsburgh Steelers veterans reported to OTAs on Tuesday, a customary sign of commitment and preparation for the upcoming season. However, conspicuously not among them was T.J. Watt. Now, for many players, skipping voluntary workouts isn't a huge deal. But for Watt, who is entering the final year of his contract and is now in his age 31 season, his absence carries a much heavier weight. Watt has every reason to play it cool with the Steelers until he has a new deal in hand. This isn't the first time his relationship has been a bit frosty with the organization during contract negotiations. But he rarely crosses lines. This time, however, it might just be time for Steelers fans to really start sounding the alarms. Watt's elite performance and the inevitable march of time. Let's start by acknowledging what T.J. Watt brings to the table. He is, unequivocally, one of the most dominant defensive players of his generation, even in what some might consider a down year for him. He's still a truly disruptive force. Watt is coming off a season where he recorded 11.5 sacks and led the league with 6 forced fumbles, earning him his 7th Pro Bowl selection and second-team All-Pro honors. So, when we say, worst season in quite some time, it's more about his Defensive Player of the Year caliber standard than a true decline into mediocrity. He's still elite, a cornerstone of any defense. But it's undeniable that he took a slight step back from the superhuman performances we've come to expect, like his 22.5 sacks from 2021. And that brings us to the uncomfortable truth that applies to every single athlete in professional sports. TJ is getting older. Father Time, as they say, remains undefeated in the NFL, despite still playing at an incredibly high level. A pass rusher turning 31 is entering a phase where the relentless wear and tear of the game begin to show more readily. The explosiveness, the snap count, the recovery time, all these factors become more scrutinized. Yet, even with that in mind, Watt undoubtedly desires at least one last massive payday as an elite player, on a Steelers defense that absolutely thrives on rushing the passer and generating turnovers. His accomplishments and disruptive presence are valued to an immense degree. The entire identity of their defense hinges on getting after the quarterback. And Watt is the engine of that unit. ESPN's Benjamin Solik recently hinted at what could be a major shakeup in the Steelers' core after this season. And his points are incredibly insightful. Solik wrote, and I quote, "I find it interesting that T.J. Watt is in the final year of his deal with pretty much no smoke about an upcoming extension. I find this doubly interesting when you consider that he is 31 and coming off his worst season as a pro. And I find it triply interesting that Watt has never won a playoff game with the Steelers, who may be approaching a massive organizational overhaul if coach Mike Tomlin cannot figure out the quarterback position. Just a thought. The perfect storm, age, contract, and playoff drought." Solik's observations are all valid, and frankly, quite alarming for Steelers Nation. Let's break down these critical points. First, the lack of smoke regarding an extension. This is highly unusual for a player of Watt's caliber, especially given his importance to the team. Typically, when a superstar is entering a contract year, there are leaks, reports, and a general buzz about ongoing negotiations. The silence around Watt's situation is deafening and suggests either a very difficult negotiation or perhaps even a fundamental disconnect on future plans. Is the team reluctant to offer a top-tier deal? Or is Watt holding firm on his demands? Second, his age and recent performance. While 11.5 sacks are still fantastic, the Steelers' front office might be looking at that number, combined with his upcoming 31st birthday, and wondering about the long-term investment. Myles Garrett just reset the market for edge rushers, signing a massive $160 million extension with over $122 million guaranteed. Watt's agent will undoubtedly be looking for a comparable, if not higher, deal, pushing the boundaries of what an aging defender typically commands. But for a franchise that has historically been hesitant to give long-term, top-of-market deals to players over 30, this is a huge hurdle. Are they willing to set a new precedent for a non-quarterback over 30? And third, the playoff drought. This is perhaps the most stinging point for the Steelers faithful. And for Watt himself. T.J. Watt, a Defensive Player of the Year, a perennial All-Pro, a true game wrecker, has never won a single playoff game with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Think about that for a moment. This level of individual dominance without team postseason success is almost unheard of in modern NFL history. Since their last playoff victory in 2016, the Steelers have been consistently one and done in the postseason. They lost to the Cleveland Browns in the wild card round in 2020, to the Kansas City Chiefs in 2021, to the Buffalo Bills in 2023, and most recently, to the Baltimore Ravens in 2024. In that last playoff game against the Bills, the Steelers' defense gave up nearly 300 rushing yards, an abysmal performance for a team built on defensive prowess. The looming overhaul and a potential split. This prolonged lack of postseason success puts immense pressure on everyone, including head coach Mike Tomlin. While Tomlin is rightly lauded for his incredible streak of never having a losing season, an unparalleled achievement in modern NFL history, the consistent playoff failures are a glaring stain on an otherwise sterling resume. Solik's thought about a massive organizational overhaul, if the quarterback situation isn't figured out, is not just a thought, it's a very real possibility. If the Steelers can't find a long-term answer at QB, and if their playoff woes continue, everything, from coaching staff to core players, could be on the table. Here's another crucial point that often gets overlooked but underlies this entire situation. Players at premier non-quarterback positions, especially those relying on explosiveness and athleticism, don't often get long-term contracts when they're over the age of 30. Teams become increasingly wary of the risk of age-related decline, even for Hall of Fame-level talent. Watt is absolutely a Hall of Fame talent, and Steelers fans can only hope he's enshrined in Canton as a lifelong member of the black and gold. But Pittsburgh will have to pay a premium for that right, a premium that might stretch their future financial flexibility. This puts general manager Omar Khan between a rock and a hard place. If they sign Watt to a long-term deal, say, 4 years, potentially worth upwards of $120 minus $160 million with significant guarantees, the odds are that Pittsburgh might not be competitive for the entirety of that contract. That's a huge financial commitment to a player who will be in his mid-30s by the end of it, potentially hindering their ability to acquire other key pieces or extend younger talent, thus impacting their ability to build a complete roster around him. A split, as difficult as it might be for the fanbase to stomach, might ultimately be what's best for both sides, even if it causes significant drama in the interim. For Watt, it could mean going to a team that is closer to Super Bowl contention, giving him the chance to finally get that elusive playoff win that has eluded him in Pittsburgh. For the Steelers, it could mean freeing up significant cap space to truly embark on a different kind of rebuild, rather than constantly trying to patch holes around an aging, expensive core. It's a decision that weighs heavily on the franchise's philosophy: stick with the established star, or prioritize future flexibility and a new direction. This is a pivotal moment for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The T.J. Watt contract saga, combined with their recent playoff history and the ongoing quarterback uncertainty, points towards a franchise on the cusp of a major transformation. The alarm bells are ringing, and it's up to the Steelers to decide how they respond. What are your thoughts on T.J. Watt's situation and the Steelers' future? Do you think they should pay him whatever it takes? Or is it time for both sides to consider a difficult but necessary split? Let us know your take in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more in-depth NFL analysis.